After competing in China and Saudi Arabia, F1 Academy is all set for qualifying in the United States. Welcome to the third round of the series, where the talented young female racers compete in junior single-seaters to establish their careers in motorsport. And once again, it is on a challenging circuit. There are 19 turns to deal with, some fast sweeping corners, but also some tricky, tight and narrow sections as well, where you need to be close to the wall, but try not to hit it. Last year, the fastest race lap was 1:59.322, but the fastest qualifying lap was a 1:58.507, which was set by my co-commentator today and the reigning F1 Academy champion, Abby Pulling. Now, Abby, you've just been showing me as well the weather forecast for today. It's slightly different to the way it was yesterday.
Yeah, I'm nervous looking outside the commentary box. It's looking really overcast, a bit sad in the air. It's not like the Miami heat that we had yesterday, but it's going to be a challenge for the drivers. I mean, the track temp's a lot lower. It's going to be different. It actually rained overnight, so that's an additional thing that they've got to deal with. There's going to be a lot of dirt on the track that's been brought on, so the track evolution throughout the session is going to be massive.
Abby, it's great to have you with us this weekend, as you are the reigning champion of F1 Academy, and well, let's just see how this qualifying goes. They've had those two practice sessions, which you were studying yesterday. Dorian Pan, who we saw just a moment ago, she was fastest in the first practice session. Weug was fastest in the second, and those two are really battling for the title at the moment. Weug is now leading the championship, but it is a close battle as expected in this early stages of the season. And the cars now all heading out onto the track. So track conditions, obviously, even though the weather at the moment is looking a little bit questionable, nice and dry, maybe not as warm as sometimes, but they've still got to warm these tyres up to get the best out of them, haven't they?
Yeah, track temp is 15 degrees lower than it was yesterday in FP2, so a little bit more work for the drivers, but the ambient is so hot here that it does end up helping. 27-degree air temp, so there isn't too much they've got to do. Like, for example, the braking, you can overheat the brakes quite easily, so it's more that lateral load. You see them weaving down this second straight on the track.
We're looking at a weather map there, and you can see there is rain around. Whether it's going to affect this session or not, so it is really important. Now the track is dry, you need to get out there and do it quick, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, if there is a chance of rain, it's definitely a case of you're not going to go quicker on the wet tyres, that's for sure. So it may be that a different strategy for some of the teams. I've seen actually some of the teams have scrubbed in a set of tyres. Some of the cars don't have the white stickers on the tyres. That means they've gone out on a scrubbed set that they've done an outlap on yesterday. So maybe strategic. They want to put the new set on earlier, in the more newer, let's say, set on earlier in the session.
So
straight away, push straight away. It's gonna get the rain. We are gonna get it in a few minutes, so full push.
Well, there we are. They are being told to get on with it, and actually they're all out together, so yeah, try not to get all tangled up. There is Dorian Pan, and she's just going past Ava Dobson. Ava Dobson is the wildcard entry, by the way, American, the fourth American now in the series for this particular event. She's just doing the one-off event, and we'll see how she gets on. Chloe Chambers, number 14, you're looking at the moment in the Red Bull livery, and Chloe can be very rapid, as we know. She was on pole position last time in Saudi Arabia, ended up finishing second despite crossing the line first with some penalty, but Chloe Chambers one to watch here, Abby.
Yeah, and she's got prime of place as well. Obviously on the pit lane, they're further forward as they're the first in the queue, and she's got clear track ahead of her. That's going to help so much, especially as we see a few spots of rain on that camera. I think it's looking like it's a really important to get your lap in early and putting it together. And it seems that it's going to be decided potentially in this first 10 minutes if the rain does come.
Yeah, look at that, even more drops of rain on the next camera. So as you say, it's absolutely crucial to get these first laps absolutely as quickly as you can, because if the track's going to get wet and slippery, there's no way you're going to be able to improve. You're riding on board with Chloe Chambers right now as we're heading up into that tighter section of the track now, turns 11, 12, and then it all gets quite complicated here. Just talk us through this, Abby.
This sector is the slow speed sector 2. It's all mainly in second gear, this collection of corners, but you can see she's struggling for grip. It's not as comfortable as she's as the onboards have been in this sector, and it looks like there's a bit of understeer when she's pushing the minimum, and then the rear comes out around turn 11. We saw as they're all towing each other along down this back straight, helping each other out, as Nina Gademan is saying it's raining a lot. So this is where potentially the track position for Chloe is going to come in really handy. She's crossing the line first. The track's the most dry for her.
Absolutely right, yeah. Palmowski behind her had set the fastest second sector. Somebody else has now gone slightly quicker with that. And actually, I think it's Leah Block who's done a good second sector. But let's have a look at how these times are looking as they come across the line. This could be crucial, as you say. Still just over 2 minutes, rather than in the 1:59s or 1:58s, which they were doing yesterday. And if it does get wetter, it's going to be even harder. Leah Block, as I mentioned, with that fastest middle sector, she goes third fastest. So Chloe Chambers has set the initial pace. Let's have a look though. Dorian Pan has popped up to third, and still quite a few more to set that initial time. This is really a crucial time, isn't it?
This could be a really, really good thing for Leah, actually. In front of the home crowd, she obviously has a really big past in rally driving. So if she has the less grip, she may be feeling the most comfortable she's felt all weekend. And you know, the home crowd, she's obviously going to want to do well in, and it's not easy to be able to jump in such a high pressure situation here with the rain coming down. It's going to be tough. As we see a lot of traffic as well for Dorian, track positioning seems really vital. Yeah,
that does make life tricky. I mean, okay, if you get a tow, then fantastic, but it's going to slow you down through the corners. You really don't want to be in a group of cars. On the other hand, if there's rain coming down, you cannot afford to slow down and wait for a quick lap. And so Dorian Pan's having to work really hard at this. This is unusual in qualifying. It looks like racing, doesn't it? Because in qualifying, you wouldn't normally get into a situation like this, but she's got to, hasn't she?
This is hampering more than helping for sure, but you can see how slippy it is on the onboard as the car's off. I think that
Ava Dobson.
Ava Dobson, or potentially even Leah, but
it might be Leah,
skittles here as they all miss the braking. Leah, yellow flags. That means also the drivers can't improve in this sector, but it doesn't look like they're even going to because it's so wet out there.
Yeah, and actually the second sectors are all slower now. So the first sector, there were a few people who improved on that first sector, but now second sector is definitely slippery, and that means that that lineup that we've got already, that could well be it now. I think it's going to be incredibly difficult to improve on that.
I don't think they will. I mean, the strategy now is, okay, you've got to stay out and keep tyre temp, because if they box now, they're going to drop tyre temp. They've got to wait to try and get the track to dry and come back to them maybe at the end of this 20 minutes, and it's going to be tough.
Yeah, but look at where Maya Weug is, down in 10th place. The championship leader, she did not, there she is, look, number 64. The Ferrari-backed car, she is down in 10th. Now remember, the top 8 will take a reverse grid for the first race, but if you're down in 10th, well, that's it. You'll be 10th on the grid for both races. And look how wet it's getting out there now.
Yeah, on ice. It looks like an ice rink, as we see a replay of Alicia Palmowski here going into turn 11, one of the biggest braking zones on the track here, getting a bit out of shape. I'm going to imagine everyone follow the leader onto the runoff. Not ideal situation here.
No, I mean, she's done a good job. She's second fastest, remember, and they were both Chloe Chambers, who was off. So it was the top two. They were the first out on track, and that was an advantage, as you mentioned. I think getting out first from the grid, that was the spin for Leah Block, so she got caught by the damp conditions. But Leah is 5th fastest, and that does look the way it's going to be. That was Dorian Pan coming through that group of cars. Thankfully, everybody did just manage to avoid her. That was a little bit close with Emma Felbermeyer, but it all sorted itself out, and no one else made damage there, so that's good.
And of course, FP1 and FP2, it was dry. It was dry. So this is the first time that the drivers are on this track in these conditions. So it'll be interesting to see whether they actually put the wets on and they decide, I might actually give it a go on the wets, not to improve on lap time, but just to learn. The races could potentially be wet, so they need to get as much information as possible. But then there's the argument again about the tyre temp. But to be honest, I don't think with how heavy it's coming down outside this comms box, it's going to be really anything they can do about it.
I tell you what, though, with Maya Weug 10th fastest and very unlikely to be able to improve on that, we've got to have 2 mega races possibly, because Maya Weug, Abby, is going to have to work so hard in both races, having only set the 10th fastest time. She's the championship leader, but she's going to have to do a lot of overtaking this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, speaking to Maya and knowing her from last year, she does love overtaking in the racecraft. However, not when you're leading a championship. She did say to me yesterday it's the most comfortable she's ever felt, as she's at the top of the times and at the top of the championship, or the series, sorry. She's the one to beat, but she's really found herself in a bad situation here, not even reaping the benefit of the reverse grid race. If it ends like this, she's going to be starting 10th in both races, and it will be a lot of work to do for her.
Main rival, of course, only 7 points behind her in the championship at the moment. Dorian Pan is third fastest in this at this stage, which is actually that's a good place to be. Maybe not on the front row for the second race, but it means she's slightly further ahead for race 1. Less points for the reverse grid race when you do that, but nonetheless, I think Dorian Pan will be relieved in a way that she set a good early pace. Ella Lloyd doing an excellent job, 4th fastest as well. Aurelia Nobels has done a good job in 6th place, and Rafaela Pereira, that's impressive, 7th fastest, because she was a little bit further down the list in free practice. She was 12th in practice 1, and she was 15th practice 2.
Rafaela with Campos Racing, she was one of the first 3 out on track, so maybe that's helped her get a bit more confidence in the better conditions. But I just want to point out how close it is in that top 4, 700ths between the 4 of them. It just shows how important that lap was to get the lap in, and it's from Chloe Chambers to Alicia Pin and then Ella Lloyd. So all of them really making the most of that first 1 push lap.
Yeah, absolutely. They are putting wets on, as you can see. As you mentioned, we might see that. A little bit else going on with Alicia Palmowski's car. They haven't put the wet. Oh, they are now beginning to take the slicks off and put the wets on. So let's just see if they do decide to go out. Of course, part of this will be thinking, well, if there's rain over the weekend and we're racing in the rain, we really need to get a feel for the car.
Exactly, getting as much data as possible. I mean, they will want to try and home the car for the setup, but also for the drivers to get into it.
There is still chance that we have more slick laps at the end of the session.
Oh, well, that's interesting to hear. So we've still got just under 20 minutes to go. It would have to be stopping raining very much now, I would think, for it to dry off enough, but let's wait and see.
I mean, the rain has stopped here where I am in the comms box. I'm situated at the start of the pit lane, so there's nothing here, so the teams will see that there's no rain in the pit lane. However, it's looking like there's a lot of spray out there as we go outboard shots of Leah Block going into turn 4.
Yeah, Leah Block, one of the Americans racing, of course, this weekend. She's had a really tough time in qualifying until now, but right now she's 5th fastest. She started at the back of all 4 races that we've had so far. The first event, she got taken out in the early part of qualifying, and so she didn't get to set a lap, and then she went off herself in Saudi and didn't get to set a lap there either. So this time, thankfully, where she's in the USA, home turf, and she has done a great job, 5th fastest. But this is interesting, Abby, to have a look now on the wet tyres to see how the cars react in these conditions.
I'm really excited actually to go on board here with Aurelia Nobles and see what the track's like in the rain. I'm almost a bit envious, to be honest. It looks like a really exciting track, as we see that the sun is coming out a little bit, but it doesn't look like it will be enough to dry. I mean, maybe we'll see, but it's going to be a really big challenge, as there's a really high-speed Sector 1. Rubber's been laid down from the Formula 1 and all the support races that have been out this weekend, so it's going to be really slippy online, and it's going to be a challenge for the drivers to adapt and figure out where the best possible place is to put their car.
Absolutely right. Yes, it is. That's what you can learn from all of this. How many wet races did you do last year in F1 Academy? Were there any?
Great question. No wet races, but there was a moment at Zandvoort where we were sat on the grid and the heavens opened and the race actually got postponed even to the next morning. Qualifying at Zandvoort also wet. These cars in the wet it requires a bit of finesse. The tyres are quite soft, to be honest, so there is a lot of grip available, but around a street circuit like this, maybe less so than a more normal circuit like Zandvoort.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. And that means that on a track like Zandvoort, if it's drying, you've got to perhaps run it onto the wet to try and keep those tyres cooled down a little bit. That's not really something they need to worry about right now. Right now is just finding where the grip is, isn't it? And driving in the wet on any racetrack, it's always about trying to identify where are the drier patches. They can be in strange places, can't they?
Yeah, no, there can be little bumps in the road and it can create standing water, and you go for a puddle and the rear will step out. Of course, these cars don't like going through moats that go across the track sometimes, but it's making sure you're looking at them, and it's actually really important if there is any standing water for these drivers to be checking it out, because if it is starting to dry at the end of the session, they'll want to be cooling down these wet tyres, but then when it gets to slicks, you want to be avoiding them.
Absolutely right. On board with Aurelia Nobels here, and she's done a good job so far, going 6th fastest. First sector 6 seconds down on the fastest first sector in the dry earlier on. 6 seconds, not a huge surprise when you can see the amount of water, the amount of rain. I think it's unlikely that we're going to see quick laps by the end. Just look at the amount of water that's out there.
It does seem Sector 2 has particularly been really affected by this rain. There is a significant amount of spray that I don't think is going to go, as we see Aurelia fighting the car into turn 11 and then getting it back to the left, off the rubber, so going very wide here, middle of the track, as she sets up turn 13, 14 and 15. This chicane is really tight. These curbs are very slippy over the paint, and yeah, doing a really good job to try different things, try and get the accelerator down, find where the traction is. Yeah, 12 seconds, not going to see an improvement on overall pace for sure.
No, but we'll maybe get an idea. Just to be interesting to see who is going to be quick in the wet at this point. And we'll see, because just in case we get rain either later today or on Sunday, we'll get a little bit of an idea who's going well in the wet conditions. But just under 15 minutes to go. It does look as though the qualifying setup is done, but it's always fascinating driving on board in these wet conditions like this with these Formula 4 cars, as they are effectively, these Tatus cars. And as you were saying, the wet tyres, they work well, they're reasonably soft, so they're giving them a reasonable amount of grip. 2 minutes 15 seconds, so we are looking at 15 seconds basically off the pace in the dry. That's no great surprise. Oh, and Leah's just gone a little bit wide once again.
Yeah, doing some sightseeing. It looks really wet off on that painted section of the track, but it seems like it's going to be, I think, a lot of fun out there for the drivers, to be honest. As you said, it's for the races, making sure they're set up and understand where they need to be. For whatever reason, if it is wet, as we go on board with Maya, who, yeah, she'll be wanting to move forward, so getting as much data as possible, and if the race is wet, knowing where she can go offline to make them overtakes, is fighting the car around turn 3 here, all flat out in the dry, maybe potentially a little lift in the wet.
Yeah, and of course, she's one of those drivers into her second year. That's one of the rules of F1 Academy, is you're only allowed to compete in F1 Academy for 2 years. Last year, she developed her talent very, very clearly, taking a win at the end of the season, and she's been very much on the case now. Championship leader, as we mentioned. She finished 3rd and 2nd in the first 2 races of the year, and then 2nd and 1st last time out in Saudi Arabia, excuse me. But she is leading the championship, but down in 10th place is where she's going to have to work hard. But she looks pretty confident in these conditions, doesn't she, in the wet?
Yeah, I mean, her last lap out was at 2 minutes 20, and I've seen some of her drivers on a 2 minute 14, so that was Leah Block, actually. So Leah looks the fastest in these conditions at the moment, but Maya on her first proper push, I imagine the last lap was probably a prep lap, why the gap was so big, but we'll see going through Sector 2 now how she'll fare against the other drivers.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see. You've got to be so careful through these chicanes, trying not to run it too much. That was a lovely little bit of four-wheel drift out onto the exit as she comes down the long main straight here. 12 seconds down. So, as you say, I think this is potentially going to be up there with the 2 minute 14 that we have seen so far as fastest. I think this could be a little quicker, but are we actually going to see this track drying up? I think that's more difficult. This section, into the final section that we are in now, definitely a little bit drier than section 2. As you said, sector 2 of this track is definitely the wettest part of it.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of managing the tyres, actually. They'll start overheating at this point in sector 3, where it is drier, and even sector 1, where we're going into now as we finish the lap. The spray, not very much here, whereas in sector 2, it is very significant, as Weug does a 2 minutes 16.4, so still a little bit of time to find compared to the lap that Leah was able to put in, but a lot of drivers actually coming into the box and sitting out as well. Leah after going off in the box, but here we see Tina Hausmann. She's decided to stay out, wants to learn a little bit more as we go up to the final corner.
Yeah, Tina Hausmann with the backing from Aston Martin, running with the Prema team, and Tina Hausmann has a good time last time out in Saudi. It was all a bit tricky for her in China. There were penalties in both races, but she finished 6th in both races last time out. She is now 7th in the points, so she's doing a good job. And having set her pace earlier on, she was 9th fastest, so she has just missed out on that top 8 reverse. Unfortunately, if she'd been 8th, of course, then there would have been pole position for race 1, but it hasn't quite worked out. But she still is someone to keep an eye on. She has great ability. So let's see what happened to Aurelia Nobels a moment ago. This is in the pit lane. Oh, that was a little bit tight, wasn't it, Abby?
Yeah, not pulling into the grid box as maybe she would have liked. Had to. Luckily, it wasn't too big. It was just a little jink out, but maybe wasn't expected.
Yeah, Eva Agnostiadis, who just went a little bit deep. There she is, but no damage done in the end to either car, so that was fine. And yeah, Agnostiadis is down at the bottom. She didn't really get a quick lap in on the dry tyres, and of course those going out later were in a real group of cars. It was very difficult to get a clear lap in, as we saw, but there is Leah Block, having done that great job in the dry, 5th fastest, and then showing great pace, as you said, in the wet, doing a 2 minute 14, which nobody else has quite matched, although actually Hausmann has done a 2 minute 12. Yeah,
I was going to say, yeah, so Nina Gademan actually did a 2 minute 13 dead, and then which is 0.0, and then Tina Hausmann managed to one-up her and do a 0.9, so them two seem to be a step quicker than everyone else so far in these wet conditions.
But it is drying up a little bit, isn't it? So if you're still out there, there is a chance perhaps to go even faster. We're on board with Dorian Pain, major championship contender, 2nd in the points at the moment, having led after the first round. 2nd now to Weug, but in a much better position for the start of the races, having been 3rd fastest so far in this session, which we still think is very unlikely to change. Even though the track is drying out slowly, it's very hard for it to get to a full dry session once again, with the clock ticking away, under 10 minutes to go, and Weug is back into the pit. It will be challenging, this, and mentally a tough one, but it was just a tough situation to go out in that whole group of cars, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's not ideal. It's the position you are in the pit lane. It can help you sometimes or hinder you, and I think definitely Maya been done over a little bit. It's nothing that she could do within her control, so that would be the big thing that she needs to think about, as we see the frustration there on the replay, hitting the wheel. But again, like I say, need to not be hard on herself. There wasn't much she could have done. She was in a gaggle of cars that was unavoidable. If she'd gone out and waited and let the cars go to get clear air, it would have been wet, so she would have been in the same situation, not been able to get a lap time in.
20-year-old from the Netherlands, who has that backing from Ferrari and running with MP Motorsport. So no chance of going back out with slicks on, Lloyd being told. So they had put the slicks on, but now they've decided that's no point at all, because of the time clicking away. And I do understand that. It really doesn't look likely that you're going to be able to get back out on slicks, and there's no point in risking it, is it really, Abby? Because, you know, if you hit the wall at this point in the session where really you can't improve anyway, then it's just no point.
No, the last thing you want to do is having to rebuild a car after qualifying, going into a race. You've got no time to do a lap to make sure everything's running okay. But it's quite an ambitious call to put the slicks back on the car. I worked with Zimba, Ella Lloyd's engineer, last year, so I admire the gamble there. But yeah, I think it probably the right decision to not go out again, but we'll see. Looking quite dry on this pit straight now, but around the back I think it's just still too wet.
Absolutely right. Yeah, no, very, very interesting. And Well, at this stage, Aurelia Nobels is still out on track. She is 6th in that lineup, which is excellent for her, and there's every chance therefore that she could be scoring some points, which she hasn't managed to do so far this season. And for the ART team, which she runs with, that would be good news if they can get some points for them too.
I spoke to Aurelia yesterday actually, and she was up there, I think in FP2 she was P5, one of the best positions she's been in all season. So she was hoping to continue the form forward and was really happy. She had a bit of bad luck last year here at Miami, and she wanted a bit of redemption. So yeah, it's nice to see her in the top 10 of the session so far, and trying to learn as much as possible on these wet tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we shall see how it all goes, but still learning about the track is important, no doubt about it. Don't forget, though, it is Chloe Chambers who has set the outright pace, and it really doesn't look... Oh, a little bit of a lock-up, but actually dealt with that well. Aurelia Nobels. Yeah, that was fine. It's not surprising that you're going to lock up. Change of brake balance, presumably in the wet conditions. You've had to have done that before. Well, you can always adjust it when you're out there, but you would have done it coming out. And she's using the curbs a bit too much.
Yeah, I don't think that was meant to happen. I think just a little mistake there in these conditions. But as you say, yes, the brake bias. As soon as it would have rained, they would have gone back on the bias. At least that's what I would have done. Even on the slick tyres, you'd need to be ready for anything in the braking zone. Less grip. You've got to really manage that on the bias. And when they boxed for wet tyres, they would have then gone back out. You run around 60% in the dry. Now they'll be running about 55. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, no, good point. Another one to mention, Ava Dobson, the wildcard entry. She's done a pretty good job in being 15th fastest, because the wildcards drivers have generally been down at the back of the grid in the races we've seen so far, but she does have 3-place penalty in both races, so it does actually sadly put her back down. There she is, there's Ava Dobson, but she does have a 3-place penalty, so but she's done a reasonable job there, hasn't she, in qualifying? Yeah,
for a wild card, it's not ideal having to carry the penalty forward and in the races, as this is her one event of the year. But hopefully we see her more in the future. But it was a silly little mistake that you've got to pay quite a lot for. But she's doing a great job here, and yeah, managed to improve on her positions from where she was in practice. And as we see Aurelia, again, she's loving these conditions, it looks like.
Definitely, yeah, really making the most of it, and looking as though she's got good control, even though this was just a little bit too much over the curb, just grounding the car a little bit. Thankfully it didn't knock it off too wide, and
turned into a skateboard on a half pipe there.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, Leah Block's been looking pretty impressive in these conditions too, hasn't she?
Yeah, Leah, as I said, a background in rallies, so with the wet conditions, I'm sure she'll be in her element. And actually, finding the limit, going over it there at turn 14 and cutting the chicane, bailing out quite early, a bit earlier than what we saw Aurelia do, where she went over the curbs. But actually, Leah in Zandvoort, I remember seeing her up there with us in the wet conditions. So I'm sure she'll be loving it out there right now. I'm excited to talk to her after the session.
I hope it will be wet in race 1, Tim.
Yeah, me too.
Nina Gaidman happy with the pace she has done in this wet session, and certainly she didn't manage to get a good lap, particularly in the dry, down in 13th place. So she's actually hoping it will be wet so she can make up a bit more time.
But interesting, some drivers opting to not go out at all on the wet. So I don't believe Chloe Chambers or Alicia have really done too much. A lot of them sitting in the pit lane.
Yeah, that's right. Let's just see what Alba Larsen ran wide over the curb, dealt with it fine, didn't spin the car. That was sensible, wasn't it? Because sometimes some people overreact if they run wide.
Yeah, it is really easy to overreact to any input. Even in the dry, you can overreact to the oversteer that you're feeling. So it's a really mature decision from Alba to bail out and just go straight on there. It's a very high speed section of the track, one of the fastest corners. So good decision making.
You're watching Courtney Crone at the moment, number 7 with the Haas backing, another of the ART team, and she hasn't qualified quite as well as she would have liked, but 11th is not bad actually, because she's had a few ups and downs already this season. That actually will be the best qualifying she's done so far. She's been 14th on the grid at all previous 4 races, so that will be an improvement. But there is Chloe Chambers, who is fastest overall. She's done a very good job. She raced here last year. She finished 3rd in the first race, so she got a podium having qualified 7th, finished 4th in the other one. She also raced in the W Series here in 2022, so that experience, but also I think, as you were mentioning, Abby, getting out first onto the lap, that was probably even more important than her experience here.
Track positioning was so important in that. Of course, she's done a lot of laps here and raced in championships previously in this track, and she's got a lot of knowledge behind the home crowd. But the clear track, I think, really paid in her favour. Which this is Gabriella, the team manager, as we see, looks maybe not as happy as I'd expected to. We'll see a smile maybe once the checkered flag goes out. But yeah, the Campos team there having a really great result so far.
Yeah, and you're back on board with Alicia Palmowski here, who is 2nd fastest, part of that same team, and with the Red Bull Racing back up as well. They were very close, as you mentioned. I mean, the top 3 were so close, but these two were just 0.018 apart from each other. So there is Chloe Chambers. That's how close they were. That's not going to change now, but it means they're going to be on the front row together, which is going to be fascinating. And let's not forget, Alicia Palmowski won the first race of the year. Yes, it was the top 8 reverse grid, and also there was sadly a problem for Ina Gateman, but she deserved a great result. She got the win, and she's going to be starting up on the front row. Could be another chance for her, couldn't it?
Potentially. I mean, I know Alicia, she's a British racing driver, and I've come across her a few times before, even F1 Academy, and she's really a great talent of the future, and so keen and enthusiastic, as we see the session ending. So definitely wasn't possible for the slicks to go on for this, but hopefully in race 1 we'll see if it will dry out. I imagine it will if there's no more rain to come.
Yeah, I would imagine so too. Yeah, that was a 2:12 by Palmowski as well. So that's the sort of pace that we've seen in the damp conditions, but it was the times have all been set very briefly in the dry. Alba Larsen having another little moment. Did she stay off the wall or not?
Oh, we saw her actually in FP1 or 2 brushing the wall. So that's as close as you really want to get. Can't fit a coin between that. But yeah, that's probably one of the tightest parts of the track there, turn 16. It's really tough, and especially in these conditions.
Okay, Chloe, so that's it. P1. Not the way we wanted, but yeah, you did a good job pushing from the beginning and overtaking Alicia. So yeah. Anyways, good job.
Oh, that was an exciting session. Oh well, a winner's a win, whatever.
Very good indeed. And in fact, of course, it means that she has now had pole positions back to back, because she was on pole position last time. Dorian Pan, though, who is, of course, well up in the championship. I mean, all 3 of them are. Chambers is not far behind Dorian Pan. The gap is 5 points between those two. Maya Weug is the championship leader, but is not in that top group, of course. As we mentioned, Maya Weug down in 10th place. So we could well see a change in who's leading the championship after the 2 races this weekend. It's going to be fascinating to see. But what we do know is Chloe Chambers and Alicia Palmowski are going to be on that front row together, with Dorian Pan right behind, and Ella Lloyd. And Abby, you've been working with Ella a lot. I think she'll be pretty happy with being up on that 2nd row, won't she?
Definitely, and the gap is so tight. She maybe will be coming back in thinking, oh, I should have done this a little bit more or done that. But a really great result for Ella, obviously getting her first win out in the Jeddah in the reverse grid race. So hopefully maybe getting some silverware in the main race as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so solid results for the team. 1-2.
Ah, amazing. That's great. Well done.
Yeah, it is good news for the team, there's no doubt about it. And that is her best qualifying so far this year. I mean, she's been strong, as you said, all the way through this season after that great performances in GB4 in the UK last year. She's qualified well. She's been 5th, 4th, and now she's gone 2nd. So she's been moving up every time she's been out qualifying. But yeah, getting the timing right, following Chloe Chambers, I think, as well, was quite helpful, wasn't it?
Definitely, and for championships, that consistency that she has is really important, and it will help her in the long run to be able to score good points in every race. So this is, yeah, going up and chasing Chloe down. It almost sounds like on the team radio from Chloe that her engineer was very happy that she overtook Alicia and took that track positioning to make sure she had that clear track. So maybe if Alicia had kept in front, maybe it would have helped, but a great result nonetheless for her.
Yeah, very, very good. And who knows how it's going to go in the race when they both start together on the front row with those times so close. But they will have Doriane Pan behind, who is experienced and very rapid and looking to try and sneak ahead in the championship. And we'll have Maya Weug down in 10th place, leading the points at the moment. But we could see the frustration from her, and she's going to have to work hard to try and move up the order. Alba Larsen a bit further down than we might have expected. Nina Gademan down in 13th, but so many of them had an issue on the opening couple of laps in the dry where they were in traffic, and it was so difficult to put a quick lap together when they actually had the pace. But that's the way that it lines up the grid, and we're going to be looking forward to later on. Of course, the top 8 will be reversed on the grid for the first race, but then it will be in that order for the second race. And there's still a bit of cloud out there. Who knows, Abby, what's going to happen to this weather?
No, I'm excited. I can't wait to see what's going to happen for race 1. And yeah, the girls now have got a bit of experience in the rain, so they're ready for whatever comes.
They are, and it could make it all very, very interesting to see who's going to be able to take command and who's going to be coming through from further down the grid. I think we will be watching not just up front to see who's leading the race, but who's going to be fighting their way through to try and gain some points. Let's have a look at the qualifying result then. Pole position has gone to Chloe Chambers for the second race in a row, second meeting in a row. Alicia Palmowski, excellent in 2nd place, but Doriane Pan up there in 3rd, currently 2nd in the championship. Ella Lloyd 4th, and then Leah Block, very much her best effort in qualifying so far this year, up into 5th. Aurelia Nobels in 6th place, ahead of Rafaela Ferreira, Emma Felber-Meyer. Tina Hausmann in 9th place. Remember, the top 8 will reverse for race 1, but 9th and 10th, Tina Hausmann and Maya Weug, that's where they will start for both races. Courtney Crone in 11th place, held of Alba Larsen. Nina Gademan 13th, Chloe Chong 14th, Ava Dobson 15th, but with penalty, so she will be knocked down, ahead of Nicole Havrida, Joanne Chiconte and Eva Anagnostiadis. So there we are, seeing the ones that will be out later on. There's a bit more rain falling now. Who knows what's going to be happening here? Thank you, Abby, for joining us, and we will be looking forward to getting into the race a little bit later on. I do hope you can join us for that. We could be in for some fascinating battles going on, but it's Chloe Chambers who went fast.